There's a moment when you're standing in a foreign city, wrong platform, wrong line, no cash, no signal, and you realize the city was never actually designed for you to succeed. Japan looked at that exact moment and built 15 things to prevent it from ever happening. Not through better apps or customer service, but through physical design that makes the right move obvious before you even have to think about it. Every single one of them exists because someone decided your time was the most expensive thing in the system. Before we continue, hit subscribe so you never miss the latest updates. Number 1. Suica and Pasmo IC cards for instant payments and transit. Picture yourself at a Tokyo turnstile during rush hour with 40 people stacked up behind you, and you're digging through your wallet, trying to figure out which ticket works for which line. That's the exact problem Suica and Pasmo were built to eliminate, not reduce. Eliminate. The friction wasn't just slow payment, it was the entire decision tree that happens before payment. Which line, which fare, which machine, which exit, and every second of that process gets multiplied by millions of people doing it at the same time. The IC card collapses all of that into one tap. It works across trains, buses, taxis, convenience stores, and vending machines. So you're carrying one thing instead of 4. The system reads it, calculates the fare, and deducts it. Japan moved the entire job of transit payment off the person and onto the infrastructure. Number 2. Highly punctual train schedules that eliminate guesswork. Most transit systems around the world treat schedule uncertainty as something you just accept, like weather. Japan didn't accept it. Japanese train operators publish schedules down to the minute, and those times aren't targets, they're what actually happens. The Shinkansen runs an entire year of service with average delays measured in seconds, not minutes. That's not a lucky streak, that's a system built so the schedule and reality stay the same thing. For you standing on the platform, this changes how your whole day works. You know when to leave your house, you know when you'll arrive, and you don't need to pad extra time in for unpredictability. That mental padding is easy to overlook, but it costs real energy. When you can't trust a schedule, your brain runs multiple scenarios the whole time you're waiting. Japan treated punctuality as something you engineer, not something you track. Number 3. Train platform queue markings for faster boarding. Thousands of people on a platform at the same time is basically a physics problem. Bodies need to get off the train, bodies need to get on, and if those two flows crash into each other at the door, everyone slows down. Most transit systems respond to this with announcements or signs asking people to step aside, which works maybe half the time because it requires every single person in a moving crowd to hear an instruction, process it, and choose to act on it. Japan just took that decision away entirely. Queue markings painted on the platform floor show exactly where the doors will stop, with 2 lines on either side of the door zone, so passengers naturally form columns that leave the exit path clear before the train even arrives. The floor tells you where to stand. Nobody asks. Boarding gets faster not because people became more cooperative, but because the environment made the right move the only obvious move. Number 4. Real-time train arrival displays. Above every platform in Japanese stations, there's a display showing you which train is coming, which line, which direction, how many minutes away it is, and often which specific cars are reserved for certain passengers. When you know the train is 4 minutes out, you stop staring at the tunnel. You check your phone, sit down, grab something from your bag because you know exactly when you need to pay attention again. Without that information, you watch the tunnel the whole time because missing the train isn't an option. That shift from active watching to passive waiting sounds small, but multiply it across millions of commuters every single day, and you've got a system where people arrive calmer, move faster, and need less help getting through it. Number 5. Takuhaibin luggage forwarding services. Japanese train stations are built for people moving fast, and dragging a large suitcase through that environment doesn't just slow you down, it slows everyone behind you too. Takuhaibin is a luggage forwarding service available at most hotels and convenience stores across Japan. You hand your bag over the night before, pay a flat fee, and it shows up at your next hotel the following day. The courier networks running this are the same ones handling everyday package delivery across the country, so the volume is high enough to keep prices low and reliability consistent. Your body and your luggage don't actually need to travel together. That's an assumption, not a requirement. Number 6, coin lockers at train stations and shopping centers. You've checked out of your hotel, your train doesn't leave for 3 hours, and your bag weighs enough that carrying it around the city isn't really an option. Most places, you're stuck. Japan put a wall of lockers in the station and solved it. Coin lockers in Japanese stations aren't tucked in a corner as an afterthought. They're planned into the layout based on how many people use that station and what kind of travelers pass through it. Larger stations have hundreds of them spread across multiple locations in the building, in different sizes, so you're not paying full price to store a small backpack. Most lockers now take IC cards or QR codes for payment and access, so you don't need exact change. Some stations have screens that show you in real time which sizes are available before you walk over. You drop the bag, you get your day back, and the station stops being a place you're stuck waiting and turns into somewhere you actually want to be. Number 7, convenience stores that handle bills, tickets, and banking. In most countries, handling basic adult tasks means making a separate trip for each one. Pay a utility bill at the bank, buy an event ticket at the box office, send a package at the post office, and hope everything closes before you run out of lunch break. Japanese convenience stores handle all of it. You can pay utility bills, government fees, and insurance premiums right at the counter. You can buy Shinkansen tickets, print documents, drop off packages, and pick up hot food, all without leaving the same building. What makes this work is that the store chains built back-end connections to hundreds of different service providers, so the counter staff just processes the transaction through a terminal. From your side, it's one stop. Japan didn't build better banks or better ticket agencies. It just routed all that daily admin through a retail format that's already on every block and open around the clock. Number 8, convenience store ATMs with nationwide access. Foreign bank cards used to fail constantly in Japan. Not occasionally, not in rural areas, constantly. Traditional bank branch ATMs were set up for domestic cards, ran limited hours, and a lot of them just rejected foreign cards outright with no explanation. Convenience store ATMs fixed this by being built around a different priority. The machines inside 7-Eleven, Family Mart, and Lawson were designed from the start to accept international cards, run English language interfaces, and stay accessible around the clock. The chains recognized that travelers needed cash and built the infrastructure to provide it, while the banks were still figuring it out. For residents, the coverage means you're almost never far from a working machine, and the fees tend to run lower than what you'd pay at an out-of-network ATM elsewhere. Japan didn't fix its banking system to solve cash access. It routed the problem through retail infrastructure that was already everywhere, and that workaround quietly became the default. Number 9, parcel redelivery scheduling systems. Missing a delivery in most countries leaves you with a paper slip, a phone number that rings during hours you're at work, and a redelivery window that covers basically the whole day. Japan's parcel carriers let you pick the day and a 2-hour window that actually fits your schedule, including evenings and weekends. You reschedule by scanning a QR code on the notice, going online, or calling. And if waiting at home doesn't work at all, you redirect the package to a nearby convenience store and pick it up whenever. The reason carriers can offer 2-hour windows is that their drivers cover small, dense local zones rather than sprawling routes. So hitting a specific address at a specific time is actually doable. Every failed delivery attempt costs the driver time, costs the carrier fuel, and costs you another rescheduling interaction. Japan's system is built to make the first attempt succeed by letting you tell the system when you'll actually be there. Number 10, restaurant ticket vending machines for quick ordering. Ordering food at a busy restaurant involves more social steps than most people consciously notice. You find a seat, catch someone's eye, wait for them to come over, say your order, confirm it, and then wait again. And at peak lunch hour, every one of those steps takes longer than it should. Ticket vending machines at the entrance cut straight through that. You walk in, look at the machine, press what you want, pay, and hand the ticket to the staff. Your order reaches the kitchen before you've even picked a seat. The machine also shows what's sold out in real time, so you're not ordering something that doesn't exist anymore. Payment happens up front, so there's no bill at the end. Staff skip the order taking entirely and stay focused on getting food out. The part that got automated was never really a human moment anyway. It was just information moving slowly from your mouth to the kitchen. Number 11. Plastic food displays that speed up restaurant decisions. Standing outside a restaurant you've never been to, you're working with almost nothing. You know what type of food it is, maybe you can read the sign, and that's about it. Samparu are plastic food models displayed in the window, and they show you every dish at actual size, actual color, and the exact price, so you know what you're getting before you open the door. Portion size, ingredients, how it's plated, all of it is right there at street level. These models are handmade by skilled artisans using vinyl and resin, painted to match the real dish down to the gloss on a sauce or the curl of a noodle. Restaurants invest seriously in them because they last for years and they solve a real problem. For anyone who can't read Japanese, you just point at the model in the window. No translation needed, no guessing. You already know exactly what's coming to your table. Number 12. Vending machines available almost everywhere. Japan has roughly one vending machine for every 23 people, and that density only makes sense when you understand what gap it's filling. Walking is how most people move between places in Japanese cities, and those walks can run 20 to 30 minutes between any two destinations. So the vending machine isn't really about convenience, it's about coverage. You're not buying a drink because it's easy, you're buying it because the next place to buy anything might be a long way off and you need something now. The inventory is calibrated to location too. A machine near a train station stocks different things than one near a hiking trail, and options go well beyond drinks. Hot canned coffee, soup, umbrellas, SIM cards, hot meals. During disasters, certain machine networks switch to free dispensing mode and release their inventory to anyone nearby, because operators treat the machines as supply nodes, not just retail points, and built them to function that way when it matters most. Number 13. Compact, walkable neighborhoods that reduce travel time. Most cities were built on the assumption that you'd have a car. Residential streets over here, shops over there, transit somewhere in the middle, and your day becomes a series of separate trips just to handle basic errands. Japanese neighborhoods around train stations don't work that way. The station sits at the center, retail and services pack in tight around it, and housing density fills in from there, so most of what you need on a given day is reachable on foot without any planning at all. This layout didn't happen by accident. Private railway companies in Japan often own the land surrounding the stations they operate, so they had a direct financial reason to make those areas worth living near. And the effects compound. No car means no need for parking, and land that would have gone to parking lots goes to more housing, and more shops instead, which pulls in more people, which supports more services, and the whole thing tightens further. Number 14. Platform screen doors that improve passenger flow. A train platform during rush hour is one of the most physically dangerous places most people visit every single day. Thousands of people standing at the edge of a drop onto an electrified rail with nothing between them and the tracks but a painted line. Platform screen doors fix this by running a full barrier along the entire platform length that only opens once the train has stopped in exactly the right spot. So the gap between platform and train exists only for the seconds passengers actually need it. Getting this to work requires the train to stop within centimeters of the same position every single arrival, so operators use automatic train control systems, driver training, and physical track markers together to hit that target consistently. And once you've built a system that precise, other things improve too. Passengers can't crowd the edge, so boarding moves faster. Underground stations stay quieter and cooler because tunnel air never reaches the platform at all. Number 15. Color-coded transit maps and signage that make navigation effortless. Tokyo's train network runs across dozens of lines operated by different companies, with over 280 stations. And if you dropped a foreign visitor into the middle of it with no help, they'd freeze. The fix wasn't a better app. Every line gets a distinct color and every station gets a letter number code, so you don't need to read Japanese to navigate. The Ginza line is orange. Shibuya is G01 on that line. You follow color and number, and that's it. The signage repeats this at every decision point inside the station, on the ceiling, on the walls, on the floor, and along the platform edge. The repetition is intentional because in a fast-moving crowd, people miss things, and the system accounts for that by putting the same information on the next surface and the one after that. You don't hold the route in your head. The environment holds it for you and keeps feeding it back until you're through. Every system on this list does the same thing in a different location. It takes a decision you'd normally have to make yourself and moves it into the physical environment, so you stop burning energy on logistics. And they work because they weren't built for the person who's prepared, fluent, and well-rested. They were built for the person who's tired, lost, moving fast, and carrying too much, which is most people most of the time. When daily life feels unnecessarily hard, that's rarely a you problem. It's a design problem. And the difference is that one of those has a fix. That's it for today. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more updates you won't want to miss.